And finally, we'll wrap up today with a few rapid fire stories. The first of which being we may soon see an increase or possible elimination of capital gains taxes on the sale of your house. Now, currently, when you sell your house as an individual, you are exempt from paying taxes on that gain. If you're an individual, for the first $250,000 worth of gain, and as a married couple, that number increases to $500,000. It does need to be your primary residence. As an example, if you were a married couple, you purchased a house for $250,000. 20 years later, you go to sell it, it's now worth $1 million. That's $750,000 worth of gain. As a married couple, you would not pay capital gains on the first $500,000. You would on the remaining $250,000. So that's the current law. The argument now is that, well, these numbers were set over a quarter century ago. Inflation has obviously pushed property values up significantly. Does it make sense to kind of modernize the amount that families are able to exclude from paying capital gains on? Could make that argument. The other aspect of this that's being considered is that if you were to eliminate capital gains or make it more cost effective for people to sell their houses, does that in essence lubricate the housing market a bit? Does it give people more of an incentive that, well, hey, if I had sold my house previously, I would have owed a whole bunch of taxes on it, but if they were to eliminate capital gains tax, I now have less of a penalty if I do sell and go buy another house. That's a little bit more attractive. So that's the game plan for why something like this might work. An interesting argument I heard from, and I hope I'm not misquoting this, I believe it was the lead economist at Redfin. Maybe someone can double check that for me. But her argument was that rich people, so if you were to, let's say, bump it to $1 million or whatever it might be, rich people aren't going to be suddenly more incentivized to sell property because they've already been doing it. Rich people move quite frequently to avoid the exemption. So they might purchase a property, they might have it for a couple years. Once they get up to that $500,000 gain threshold, they then sell it and go buy another property. So if you're looking to kind of, again, lubricate and give some traction to the housing market, you're not damaging the rich people. They've already been cheating the system, not cheating, but they've already been gaming the system for years because they've already been kind of manipulating, okay, we're getting up to the threshold. So interesting point of view. One side says, well, if we increase the amount, we're going to get some traction in the real estate market. People will be more incentivized to sell. Pushback being people have already been selling. This isn't going to create anything new. If anything, you're going to be collecting less in taxes. So it'd be less beneficial for the government. So something to keep in mind. Keep our eye out for that. But the takeaway is if you have a $500,000 gain on your house, congratulations. That's fantastic. And it's just all the more incentive. If you are a renter, I'm always trying to give you a push. Let's get you to home ownership. Not only is it great financially, but from a tax benefit standpoint, it's also positive as well. So keep on the lookout for that. And finally, we'll wrap up today with good old New York State trying to make it as difficult as possible for people to do business. New York State has passed an all-electric mandate for new construction, and this isn't for large scaling, office buildings or apartment buildings. This is for everything from a single-family residence up to anything 7 stories or below. Now needs to be starting in 2026, all electric. So your heating, everything inside of the house, no more gas, fireplaces and oil furnaces and things like that. It needs to be all electric starting in 2026. Now, is it good for the environment to go all electric? People much more knowledgeable on environmental concerns will be able to tell you that likely the answer to that is yes. We're going to be going to heating pumps and things like that. And if we can transition more towards solar panels and wind and things like that, it's not something I'm super well versed on, but I think the argument is pretty clear from an environmental standpoint that yes, this would be a win. It is going to make home construction more expensive, and the numbers are, from what I'm seeing, anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 of additional cost in order to meet these requirements. So if you are a first-time home buyer or if you're a middle-income buyer and you're already kind of strapped to be able to afford high housing prices in New York State, this is not going to help. This is going to be a major hindrance. So it might be $15,000, it might be $20,000 of additional expense. Ideally, once this program gets a little bit more traction, maybe those costs start to come down. maybe more players enter the arena in terms of options to be able to heat your home. The installation might become a little bit more affordable once we have more professionals that are able to service these systems and things like that. So right out of the gate, it does seem like a pretty big number. I they're quite concerned because they're saying all of our costs are going up. Our financing costs are going up with interest rates. Our lumber is going up. All of the things we use for building materials are now being tariffed, so we're getting hit from that side too. It's very difficult to find workers, especially with deportations, so we're getting hit from labor standpoints. Now you're going to tack this on to us as well, so they're quite upset, to the point that one of the largest home builders in the capital region has said he's leaving. So Marini Home Builders is one of the larger home builders in the area, and he actually announced that he's going to be taking his business to Tennessee. So it's a little bit more business friendly in Tennessee, but these are the ramifications we see from government coming in, mandates into the private sector. There are ramifications. And in this case, we're having builders not just say, hey, we're going to scale back a little bit, but legitimately we're leaving the state. It's become so difficult to do business here that we're going to do what we do just somewhere else. So kind of a bummer, not great for housing in New York State. How do we kind of use this as tactical? What can we be tactical with this information? When we look at existing homes, there's going to be more of an incentive now for buyers to want to purchase existing properties built before 2026, because all of those properties are going to be grandfathered in. So if you're on a house that heats with an oil furnace, once that oil furnace stops working, you are not required, at least not yet, but there's no part of this legislation that requires you transition over to renewable energies at that point. So you would be able to replace your oil furnace. So it's very likely we might see buyers who may have preferred to do new construction suddenly say, why don't we buy an existing property and renovate it to the way that we want it, so it's maybe has many aspects of new construction. However, we're able to use the oil furnace or whatever that existing heating system might be, because there are going to be folks that are going to say, boy, that's just too much money. We don't want to mess with that. So we could see more people start to transition back to pre-existing inventory. There might be more of a demand, which of course, when we see more of a demand, what does that do to prices? It increases prices. So keep your eye on that. Keep your eye out on for that. There might be more of an incentive for people to avoid new construction, which isn't great for our builders, but there are ramifications when government comes through with mandates like this. So that's going to wrap up the episode for today. Thanks for sticking with it. If you have any questions or you want to reach out and discuss anything in detail, Stephen@sjlincoln.com. That is my email address, sjlincoln.com/book a call. You can book a conversation with me if you have a real estate related need in the capital region. Again, if you are interested in financing of a real estate project, we are able to assist in most areas of the country. So you can go on to knollhaven.com or info@knollhaven.com. Email some information about your project. I appreciate everyone making it through the episode. Be sure to like and subscribe, follow us on all the socials. And the best thing you could possibly do is, if you do enjoy the content, let me know and ask questions, because the shows are better. They're more suitable for learning if we are able to go over questions together. And because I guarantee you, if you're thinking about it, someone else is thinking about it too. So again, whether you want to comment on the video itself or just email me a couple questions, but I would be happy to discuss that with you. Stephen@sjlincoln.com, sjlincoln.com/book a call. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.